A world-famous actress, model, activist, and environmentalist, Jane Fonda has spent a lifetime in the limelight. As the daughter of celebrated actor Henry Fonda, it's no surprise that Jane grew up to make her name in movies. But her famous roles and aerobics routines aren't all that this intrepid actress should be known for. Here are 11 things you probably didn't know about Jane Fonda. She was born on the day Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was released. On the 21st of December 1937, Fonda was born in New York City. Her birth coincided with the release of Disney's first animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This was the first ever cel animated feature film. Adjusted for inflation, it remains the highest-grossing animated film of all time. A producer told Fonda to get her jewelry shaped on her very first movie. Working as an actor or actress in Hollywood has a lot of benefits, not least that it is the ultimate dream job for a lot of people. However, it does have its fair share of drawbacks, including the intense scrutiny anyone performing in the industry is placed under. Fonda was thrilled to land her film debut in Tall Story in 1960. Starring as college girl June Ryder, she was cast as the female lead opposite Anthony Perkins in this romantic comedy. But behind the scenes, the film was a Kafkaesque nightmare, according to Fonda, with her looks and acting ability heavily criticized. Fonda later recalled how one studio representative suggested that after filming I might consider having my jaw broken and reset and my back teeth pulled to create a more chiseled look. Fonda rejected this advice but stayed in Hollywood, earning her first Golden Globe for Walk on the Wild Side 2 years later. She once showed up to a university tea party dressed only in gloves and pearls. Jane Fonda attended Vassar, the highly selective liberal arts college in the U.S., and she soon got a reputation for flaunting the rules. For example, many of Fonda's university friends used to attend afternoon tea parties at the college's Rose Parlor. Jane Fonda would attend as well, but was soon reprimanded for not adhering to the dress code of gloves and pearls. Frustrated with the constant policing of her outfits at these afternoon teas, Jane Fonda came up with an ingenious way of flouting the rules. One afternoon, Fonda showed up at the Rose Lounge wearing the required gloves and string of pearls, but neglected to wear anything else. She was spied on by the NSA from 1967 to 1973. Fonda's anti-war opinions were no secret in the 70s. She protested against the Vietnam War and infamously posed alongside a North Vietnamese anti-aircraft gun in 1972. Fonda later said that she was guided to take the picture by Vietnamese soldiers before she knew what was happening, and said the momentary lack of judgment was something she regretted. However, the damage was already done. The image heightened the public's perception of Fonda as a powerful and dangerous anti-war activist, which drew the attention of American authorities. Specifically, although it wasn't revealed until 2013, the National Security Agency took her activism very seriously. Fonda and then husband Tom Hayden were among the 1,600 people whom the NSA spied on between 1967 and 1973. She's the first actor ever to be nominated for an Oscar the same year as her father. Jane Fonda has been regarded as a trailblazer for much of her life, but her first record-setting moment came relatively early in her career. In 1982, Jane Fonda and her father Henry Fonda became the first ever father-daughter pair to be nominated for individual Oscars in the same year. Both father and daughter were nominated for their work on Golden Pond, with Jane Fonda being nominated for Best Supporting Actress and Henry Fonda being nominated for Best Actor. Henry Fonda won in his category, while Jane Fonda lost out, but Jane Fonda had already won 2 Best Actress Oscars by that point. Jane Fonda had previously won an Academy Award for Best Actress for Klute in 1971 and Coming Home in 1978. Thanks to those wins, Jane Fonda and Henry Fonda still hold the record as the only father and daughter to have both won Oscars in leading role categories. Her role in the China Syndrome was actually written for a man. While nowadays there are several amazing and complex female characters to have broken through in both cinema and TV, there was a time when they were much harder to come by. Not only that, but one of the most idolized strong female characters in film history, Ripley from Alien, was actually first written as a man and then adapted so the role could be played by Sigourney Weaver. As unusual as this process sounds, it's actually not the only time this has happened, as Jane Fonda experienced something similar. Richard Dreyfuss was originally set to star in the China Syndrome. He was meant to play a camera operator, who would have been the lead character in this 1979 thriller. However, after getting into a row with the studio, Dreyfuss left the project. In the meantime, Jane Fonda expressed an interest, even though there were no main female characters in the film. It was decided that Fonda should take the lead role, now rewritten as a female TV presenter. This last-minute role won Fonda BAFTA, and she was also nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress. Fonda's second husband hated her success, insisted they move into a small house to hide her wealth. Jane Fonda's professional life has often been a whirlwind, and her personal life has been similarly fast-paced at times. As a young actress, Fonda was married 3 times, to director Roger Vadim, activist Tom Hayden, and businessman Ted Turner. Of the 3 husbands, Tom Hayden was unique in that he didn't have the wealth and resources of Fonda's other partners. This became a problem in their relationship, as Hayden was reportedly uncomfortable with Fonda's wealth and self-sufficiency, and wanted her to hide it. Fonda and Hayden moved into a small and modest house, and Hayden even forced Fonda to replace her expensive Cartier watch with a less pricey Timex. Hayden's inability to accept Fonda's success and money eventually led to their divorce in 1990, and Fonda married Ted Turner just a year later. Her workout video was the best-selling VHS for 6 years running. Fonda's career spans decades at this point, but as well as having longevity, it also has variety. Fonda began her entertainment career as a print model for magazines and advertisements, before moving into acting. Fonda has also spent periods of her life exclusively focusing on activism, attending rallies and protests, as well as publicly throwing her weight behind worthy causes. With all that said, for many people, the period of Fonda's career that is best known to them will be her 80s fitness phase. Fonda's iconic aerobics video, simply titled Jane Fonda's Workout, came out in 1982. She created it following the success of her book of the same name, which was the first ever training regimen published by a female celebrity. Jane Fonda's Workout has been credited with transforming the women's fitness industry at a time when most products and classes were targeted towards men. It sold a stunning 17 million copies, becoming the top VHS for 6 years. She was spat at by a veteran at a 2005 book signing. Jane Fonda has been committed to her political principles for decades, even when it has made her deeply unpopular among some groups. In particular, many members of the U.S. military have long held a grudge against Jane Fonda for her staunchly anti-war stance throughout the Vietnam War. This grudge came to a head when in 2005, a former U.S. naval officer confronted Jane Fonda at a book signing of hers. The Navy veteran lined up to get a book signed by Fonda, and then spat tobacco in her face, as revenge for the anti-war comments he found offensive. Speaking about the incident, Fonda's assailant said, "It was a debt of honor. She spit in our faces for 37 years. It was absolutely worth it." He went on to say, "There are a lot of veterans who would love to do what I did." For her part, Fonda declined to press charges. She once kicked a policeman while fleeing arrest. We've already discussed the fact that throughout her life, Jane Fonda has been unafraid of getting into trouble on behalf of causes she believes in. With that said, one of her most infamous run-ins with police did not actually have anything to do with her political activism. In 1970, Jane Fonda was arrested at Cleveland Airport after police officers found 105 bottles of pills in her luggage. Fonda allegedly kicked both the police officer attempting to make the arrest and a customs agent before trying to flee. This story no doubt damaged Jane Fonda's reputation, but eventually, it came out that some of the publicized details were wrong. The pills found in her luggage were nothing more than vitamins, and she had kicked the officers for chasing her into the women's bathroom. She retired from films in 1990 but then returned 15 years later. After starring in Stanley and Iris with Robert De Niro, Fonda announced she was leaving the big screen for good. Fonda instead spent the next decade making 11 workout videos, becoming even more of a household name in the fitness world. Even though she had claimed to be retired, Fonda eventually made the decision to return to acting, returning to the silver screen in 2005 with the box office triumph Monster-in-Law. Even though she had claimed to be retired, Fonda eventually made the decision to return to acting, returning to the silver screen in 2005 with the box office triumph Monster-in-Law. Fonda went on to say, "I just needed those 15 years off to kind of find myself, and in the process felt, okay, I can find joy in acting again if Hollywood will have me back." And it did. Most recently, Jane Fonda starred in the 2018 film Book Club.